So the UFC 306 main event has just wrapped up, and it's safe to say that Merab Dvalishvili gave Sean O'Malley an absolute ass whipping. First we'll take a look at Dvalishvili's reaction to becoming the bantamweight champion, and then we'll look at the stats and the fight cards, and I'll give my reaction of this fight between Sean O'Malley and Dvalishvili. So in terms of the fight itself, this was an absolute dominant performance from Merab Dvalishvili. He literally beat Sean O'Malley for 5 rounds straight. Sean O'Malley had a couple of moments and a couple of submission attempts, but ultimately Merab Dvalishvili dominated this fight every single round. From the first round to the 5th round, he landed significant takedowns in this fight. Sean O'Malley looked very cautious, and the big story of this fight was the takedowns. Every time that Sean O'Malley extended himself, Merab Dvalishvili capitalized, landed beautiful takedowns, beautiful ground and pound, and Sean O'Malley literally had nothing for this fight in Merab Dvalishvili. Merab Dvalishvili was clearly the stronger fighter. He was clearly the dominant fighter when it came to the grappling department, and Sean O'Malley didn't have any answers off his back when he was taken down by Dvalishvili. He had literally no ground game. He literally had nothing from Merab Dvalishvili. In the striking, he had a couple of good moments. He was throwing knees down the middle, the good straight right, the good overhand right, some decent uppercuts, some good teeps as well. In the final round of the fight, Sean O'Malley did actually land some teeps on Merab Dvalishvili's body, which appeared to hurt Merab Dvalishvili, but it was too little too late, and ultimately Merab Dvalishvili absolutely dominated this fight from pillar to post. Now, in terms of the stats for this fight, Merab Dvalishvili outlanded Sean O'Malley 214 strikes to 49 total strikes, and he also outlanded O'Malley in significant strikes, 82 to 47, which is a massive difference. Dvalishvili landed 58 head strikes to 22. Dvalishvili also landed 4 body shots, O'Malley landed 23. Dvalishvili landed 23 leg kicks, O'Malley landed 2. And the big factor in this fight, Dvalishvili had 10 minutes of control time in this fight, was a massive factor, and he was literally dominating Sean O'Malley on the ground, and Sean O'Malley literally had no answers whatsoever. In terms of his takedowns, Dvalishvili landed 6 for 15. He had a lot of takedowns in this fight, beautiful takedowns, and he had a couple of submission attempts as well, but Sean O'Malley managed to survive. But ultimately, Merab Dvalishvili absolutely dominated this fight, and he was a complete beatdown, a complete ass whipping. Sean O'Malley looked like he was not the UFC champion. Sean O'Malley looked like he is not an elite level fighter, and he doesn't even belong to be there in the cage with Merab Dvalishvili, and it was a complete ass whipping. Now, in terms of the scorecards, just looking at the judges' scorecards, official scorecards, Sean O'Malley versus Merab Dvalishvili. Judge Mike Bell gave it 4 rounds to 1 in favor of Merab Dvalishvili. Judge Sal D'Amato gave it 3 rounds to 2 in favor of Merab Dvalishvili. And Judge Chris Lee also gave it 3 rounds to 2 in favor of Merab Dvalishvili. In my opinion, these scorecards are absolute bullshit. I watched the fight from start to finish. Merab Dvalishvili literally dominated every single round. Sean O'Malley did not win a round in this fight. He may have won 1 round, but I only say that because the round was close. I think the 3rd round was kind of close. But besides that, literally, Merab Dvalishvili won every single round. It was a dominant ass-whipping performance, and these scorecards are absolute bullshit. Now, something interesting happened after the fight. Obviously, the UFC is looking to make Umar Nurmagomedov versus Merab Dvalishvili, and they actually put Merab Dvalishvili on screen. And on the other side, they put Merab Dvalishvili during Merab's post-fight interview with Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan says, obviously, who do you want to fight next? But Merab Dvalishvili refused to reciprocate. He refused to acknowledge the call-out, and he basically wouldn't call out Merab Dvalishvili. And he said something to the effect of, I respect Dana White, I want to speak to Dana White, but he refused to acknowledge Umar Nurmagomedov as the next contender, and he refused to call out Umar Nurmagomedov, which I suspect pissed off Dana White and the UFC. This this is kind of a massive opportunity. It's UFC 306 at the Sphere. I'm sure millions of people around the world are watching. So this was the perfect stage to promote the next fight between Umar Nurmagomedov and Merab Dvalishvili, but Dvalishvili didn't do that. He didn't execute on that opportunity, which is something that pisses the UFC off a lot. They want to see champions call out their next opponent. Considering he had a dominant performance against Sean O'Malley, considering he's probably not injured, he didn't take any damage in that fight, it would have made perfect sense for him to call out Umar Nurmagomedov right there while he's standing next to the cage, even get Nurmagomedov in the cage and face off, but he didn't do that, and I suspect this pissed off the UFC. But yeah, all in all, this was an absolute ass whooping from Merab Dvalishvili. Sean O'Malley did not look like a champion. He had absolutely nothing from Merab Dvalishvili, and this was a complete one-sided fight. At the post-fight press conference, Dana White gave his reaction to O'Malley versus Dvalishvili and said he believes O'Malley looked flat, was off tonight, and didn't have a good performance. Here's what he had to say.
I guess there was a kiss apparently.
Well, no, he didn't call timeout. What happened was Merab and O'Malley's corner were screaming at each other the whole beginning of the fight. They've been walking away before the bell. That I have no idea. Merab does some shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was weird, but not shocking.
His performance was what everybody would have expected. Were you disappointed with Sean? You know, Sean had fire in that last little bit when he was throwing those body kicks, but you didn't seem to see that fire from Sean maybe throughout that you might have expected.
I don't disagree with you. He looked flat. He didn't look sharp. He didn't look crisp until the last round. He hurt him with that body shot. He knew he hurt him with the body shot, and he kept going in and trying to finish. But, yeah, I don't agree. I mean, I looked at the punch stats. There's like 6 in a couple of the rounds. So,
do you feel like I don't know if you can put your finger on why he performed the way he did, but you know there were so many expectations on him, and this card was built and got so much hype, and then he is the star of the card. Do you think that might have impacted him in any way?
I mean, you'd have to ask him that. I don't know the answer to that question, but I think that. I think that he's one of those kids that lives for moments like this. I mean, this is what he's all about. He's that guy. I think that I don't know if he just got in there tonight and felt flat. You know, some nights it's just is what it is.
But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Give me your thoughts in the comments about this fight between Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili. Did you watch this fight? What did you think of Merab Dvalishvili's performance? Did Sean O'Malley look like he belonged in there? Do you think that Merab Dvalishvili made a mistake by not calling out Umar Nurmagomedov after his fight? Do you think Dana White is pissed off? Give me your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think.